I've spent a lot of time thinking about death and thinking about dying. I was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 25. We had 2 little girls at the time, my husband and I, and it was a rare and aggressive form of cancer that did not have a good prognosis. I wasn't that worried about it. I did a lot of praying at the time. I felt like I had a strong faith, but I knew it was going to be a journey. I, through my prayer, felt like God was calming me and letting me know that He was going to take care of it. The first tumor was in my low back, and I found that just playing with our little girls, just playing, and one of them swatted me, and I was just amazed at how bad it hurt. And so I started feeling and noticed that there was a lump there. When I first found out that it was cancer and what type of cancer it was, we lived in Alaska, and there wasn't a lot of surgeons that dealt with that type of cancer in our town. And so I went to Loma Linda. I was gone for about a month that first time around, and had surgery down there. And as soon as I was well enough to recover and get on a plane and get home, I did that. And as soon as that recovered, I went right into radiation. And because of the area that the tumor was located in, they radiated the whole pelvis area. And so because of that, I was told I wouldn't have any more children. So that was probably a bigger blow than being told I had cancer. I wasn't expecting that part, and I always saw our life with more children. So having to sign that paper and saying, yes, I accept that. I accept that that will be a part of our life. I had to start, changing the way that I saw our family, and I had to mourn the loss of those future children and the way that I thought that our life would go, and really just start focusing on saving the mom of the children that I had. I needed to be there for my kids. I needed to be there to love them and raise them and nurture them. And I went into my radiation treatments every day, and that became my prayer time. That became the time that I truly just thanked God for the blessings that I had that day, thanked Him for the energy to play with my girls, thanked Him for the gift of just taking them to the park or reading stories with them. Those little things just became the things I was so grateful for. After radiation, I was healthy for about 3 years. And during that time, we sold our house in Anchorage and we moved down here to Washington State. And I had a follow-up test and was told that the cancer had metastasized to my lungs. After the first lung surgery, I had to undergo chemotherapy as well. And I think most of us have people in our lives that have gone through cancer treatments, and most of them are pretty devastating to your body, and most of them will kill any chance of having more children. And so when they told me that was going to happen with the chemotherapy too, I didn't even, I just figured that's already been taken, so we just need to keep going with whatever protocol the doctors set into place. And the chemotherapy was really brutal. At that time, spiritually, I was starting to doubt the peace that I felt God had given me when I was first diagnosed. I was starting to doubt my interpretation of that. I started to think maybe I didn't get that right. Maybe he was just trying to give me peace in the moment. I just kept thinking how many pieces can be cut out of you and you still be whole. I just was in pain a lot, and I was sad a lot, and it was a pretty brutal time. And
were you fearful?
I wasn't fearful, I was just sad. I was sad that life was changing so much, that I didn't know what that meant for my girls. I didn't know what kind of trauma they would endure from growing up without a mom. I worried about what their life would be. And selfishly, I wanted to be there because I wanted to see the woman that they would become. I wanted to be there when they graduated high school. I wanted to be there if they decided to get married and have children. And I wanted to see the amazing women they would be. Sorry. I think most kids need their mom. I think that, as a mom, we're the soft place that they come to, when the world is hard on them. We're that safe place for them to be when, somebody's mean to them at school, or they're, having a hard time with homework, or, we're that safe place for them. So after the chemotherapy, I was told that it actually didn't shrink any of the tumors, that they actually had grown while I was undergoing chemo. And so we started planning for another surgery. Right before I was due to have that surgery, I developed some pretty severe nausea, and really thought that I had developed anxiety because of how awful the first lung surgery was, and the recovery was. So I was vomiting and nauseous as I went into that appointment for surgery, and told the doctors, and they treated me with some anti-nausea meds, and off I went for surgery. I knew from the first time how painful that was, and the incision is, from the middle of your back all the way down, wraps around. And so it's a large incision, it's a long recovery, it's a lot. So I really was very anxious for the second one. And so when I was in the hospital recovering and coming off of the medication, getting ready to go home, they weaned me off the anti-nausea medicine, and weaned down all the pain meds and all of those things that you're on, and took out my chest tube, and I noticed I was still nauseous, and started vomiting again, and now I have an incision that I'm trying to protect, and I just could not stop heaving, and it was very painful. And so I was immediately sent back to Olympia to my oncologist, who saw me immediately and was really afraid because of the history of the metastasis that it had spread to my GI tract. And so that's what he was prepping me for. He said, this is what happens when cancer spreads to your GI tract, so we'll get you in to see a specialist, and in the meantime, we'll run some tests that we can do here, and then we'll get you some anti-nausea medication on board. So I was waiting for the tests to come back, and I was waiting for one of the chemo chairs to open up so I could get some medication. And he came back and told both my husband, and thank goodness my husband was there, because I still, I couldn't drive yet. I just recovered from this surgery. So the doctor came back and got us and brought us into his room, and he told us that one of the tests was positive, and I just thought, what kind of cancer can you screen for that you have an answer already? Every other time it's taken weeks and specialists, and so I was very confused. And he said that one of the tests he did was a pregnancy test, and it was positive, and that he was very serious and very worried, and I just thought he was crazy. I just thought, what kind of cancer mimics a pregnancy? It can't really be a pregnancy. He sent me right away to a high-risk OBGYN, and she confirmed the pregnancy and let us hear the heartbeat. I think that's the first time I realized that the doctor was right, that I was pregnant. They didn't tell me what they wanted me to do. They just said I needed to make a decision. And my husband and I both just said there is no decision to be made other than we're having a baby. And if we go through this pregnancy and the baby survives and has some issues, then we'll deal with that. God will give us what we need. And if the baby doesn't make it all the way through the pregnancy, then God will give us what we need. And so we were very fearful about the pregnancy, about the health of our baby, and went to many specialists during that time too. And as far as they could tell, things were fine. And actually, even though I had no hormones before I got pregnant, my body sustained that pregnancy. I didn't need any help from the OB to support the pregnancy. God gave us what we needed, and it was hard to see that at the time. I was really focused on, I think that was the saddest time in my life, truly, to be pregnant and know that I was still really sick. And I didn't know what I was leaving my husband with. I didn't know if he would have the girls and now another baby to take care of. I didn't know if I would mother this baby ever. I didn't know what God's plan was. I spent pretty much that whole pregnancy mourning. And just being sad. When Joseph was born and he was healthy, I think it was the first time I breathed in 9 months. And he was healthy and strong, and I felt pretty good. I was exhausted, but I was starting to feel better after not having treatments in 9 months, and I just wanted to spend some time with my baby and mothering him. So I put off the surgery that I knew was imminent and the treatments that were to come, and just spent that first 10 months loving him and being with the girls, and then I was scheduled for my 3rd lung surgery. Had that last surgery, went through some more chemotherapy. The doctors said we were gonna just continue doing follow-up scans, and every 3 months do scans and tests and blood work and everything. And Joseph was almost a year old, and never had another tumor, So he was healthy. I started to get healthy, and then we found out we were having another baby. So 4 years later. So, well, Hannah is almost 28 now, and she has one baby who is 1, Archer, and she's pregnant again with our 2nd grandbaby. And Emma's 26 now, and Joseph is 18 this year, and Max is 14. I spent a lot of time being sad and focusing on death, and now I'm just focused on loving. The importance of loving each individual that God puts in your path, that whether it's a person that you're walking past on the street and smiling and letting them know that you see them, or your family at home, with gentleness and kindness, and to just be open to the love, not only that other people need, but that you can receive from giving. Just pouring yourself into loving others. Like Jesus said at the end of his parable, when he calls out to his father because he's troubled, or says, should I call out to my father and ask him to deliver me from this hour? And he says, no, I was called to this hour. And I feel like that is the same for us. We are called to each moment in our life. Each moment we're called to love and to bear fruit, to be as Christ-like as we can. Death is a beacon of hope at this point in my life. Not that I want to die now, but I know the reward that awaits us in heaven. And I like my life. I love the people in my life. I want to live, but I'm not afraid of death.